Hello everyone, welcome to the Anime Recap Media YouTube channel. Please like the video, subscribe to help our channel and enjoy this full video.
The scene shifts to the Infinity Castle where the upper rank 3, Akaza, is summoned. Sudden summoning could only mean one thing: an upper rank was killed by the demon Slayer Corp. From a pot comes out the upper rank 5, Jocko, who pretends to feel nice for meeting Akaza after 90 years. From the stairs emerges the upper rank 4, Hantagu, who corrects Jocko that it's been 113 years since they were last summoned. Akaza asks the Biwa women, who summon everyone in the Infinity Castle as per Muzan's order, whether Muzan has arrived or not. She tells him that Lord Muzan has not arrived yet, however, upper rank 1 is here. In fact, he was the first one summoned. Akaza is interrupted by Doma, the upper rank 2. Doma has a reckless and childish personality, who likes to mess up with others. The scene shifts to the upper rank 1, Kokushibo. Muzan is finally here, who tells them that upper rank 6, Jutaro, has been killed. Muzan expresses his anger for the upper ranks and calls them useless for not taking care of Kagaya and Blue Lily. Muzan tells the upper ranks that he won't be lenient with them anymore and commands Jocko to head over the place with Hantagu once he confirms the information. With that, Muzan leaves. Doma asks Jocko for his information, telling him that he wants to tag along. Akaza gets annoyed and slashes half of Doma's head. In an instant, Akaza's hand was sliced off as well by the six-eyed upper rank 1, Kokushibo, who tells Akaza to respect the hierarchy and mind his actions toward his seniors. He suggests Akaza to officially challenge Doma or Kokushibo for promotion. Doma mocks Akaza by saying that he has every right to be upset, given how Doma became a devil after Akaza, yet was promoted over him. Akaza tells Kokushibo that he will kill him and take his rank. Kokushibo is transported back, followed by Akaza. Jocko and Hantagu were sent off to confirm the information. Lastly, Doma is sent back to his place too, where his disciples are waiting for him. A maroon-haired guy with the same earrings as Thandro is seen sitting in a house holding a baby. The host, who looks exactly like Thandro, maybe someone from his ancestors, apologizes to this guest for making him babysit as his wife is sleeping. The host is Sumiyoshi, who thanks his guest for saving his life before and offers to pass down his surname for his own family, as the maroon-haired guy does not have any hair. He tells Sumiyoshi that he failed to protect anything that was dear to him, so passing on his name is worthless. Meanwhile, the dream ends as Thandro wakes up with tears in his eyes because of witnessing the sadness of that guest. Kanao notices that Thandro has finally woken up and tells him that he has been in coma for the past 2 months since his fight with Jutaro and Daki. Aoi and the triplets rush over immediately. They tell Thandro that Zenitsu woke up the next day they brought them in and is already out on a mission, against his will of course. The Sound Hashira walked out of the entertainment district with the help of his wives, which was very surprising to Goto, given how injured he was. Aoi shares that Inosuke was on the verge of death. Because of all the poison spread in his body, he was in terrible condition. Thandro gets sad, telling them that in that case, he must be hallucinating Inosuke stuck on the ceiling above him. They all look up and Inosuke really is stuck on the ceiling, typical Inosuke stuff. Inosuke thanks Tampichiro for noticing him. A week later, Thandro is back on his feet while Inosuke takes on a job and sets out. Thandro starts his rehabilitation training. While training, Thandro asks the triplets if his sword has arrived, as his second sword got chipped in the battle at Entertainment District. They inform him that no sword came, although he did get some letters from Mr. Haganazuka, his swordsmith. Mr. Haganazuka confessed his feelings and clearly got them to Thandro by saying that he has no sword for the likes of him. Kyo suggests Thandro to go to the village. Suma and Naho add that it might be better if he meets him directly, rather than writing to him. He gets the approval and a Kakushi is appointed as his guide. The guide tells him to cover his eyes and ears. As Thandro has a good sense of smell, she sticks plugs in his nose as well. Moreover, Thandro will be carried on her back, as Swordsmith Village is a vital place to the course. They keep its location a secret to prevent demon attack. The guide takes off Thandro's blindfold as he has finally reached the Swordsmith Village. She tells him to meet the chief first and guides him on the way to his house. Thandro thanks Kakushi for bringing him here. The echoes of his gratitude reach a pretty lady in the hot springs. This pretty pink-haired lady is the love Hashira Mitsuru Kanroji. We see a visual of her getting out of water as the scene shifts back to Thandro. The chief of village introduces himself as the smallest and the most important man in the village. He goes by the name Tekken Kawahara. He shares that currently Hotaru Haganazuka, his swordsmith, is missing. Till they find him, the chief suggested Thandro to enjoy his stay here and visit the hot springs that are good at healing wounds. On his way to hot springs, Mitsuri runs to Thandro and complains about the rude guy who ignored her when she said hello to him above the stairs. He tells her that dinner tonight is Matsutake rice and she is overjoyed and runs away. At the spring, Thandro gets hit by a tooth. This tooth belongs to the guy in springs with mohawk hairstyle. Thandro had seen him before and Sumi told him that he is the brother of Sanemi Shinazugawa, the Wind Hashira, Genya Shinazugawa. Upon hearing his name, Genya turns around and tells Thandro to die. Thandro tries to bond with him, but he leaves. Later that night, Thandro enjoys the delicious dinner with Mitsuri, who has a pile of empty bowls in front of her. Thandro asks why Genya is not here for dinner, and Mitsuri shares that she heard the villagers saying that he never takes meals. They decide to bring rice balls to him. Thandro asks why she became a Hashira. Her face turns red, and she discloses that she wants to find the gentleman with whom she will be spending eternity. To find someone strong, she thought of Hashiras. To get in touch with a Hashira, she became one herself for easy access, as coming across Hashiras is very rare. Genya was not in the room while Kakushi informs Mitsuri that her sword is ready. Mitsuri tells Thandro that she will be leaving during the night and they might not live to see each other again, but let's fight the good fight. She praises him for fighting an upper rank and surviving. Thandro responds that he will work hard to become strong enough to defeat Muzan This makes Mitsuri and Kakushi skip a heartbeat. Before leaving, she tells him that there's a secret weapon in this village that will make him stronger, so try to look for it. The next morning, after having a delicious breakfast, Tanjiro sets out to find the weapon. In the forest, he sees the Mist Hashira Muchiro Tokido, which is trying to take the key from a kid, whereas the kid refuses to hand it, saying that his ancestors made it and is precious to him. Tanjiro notices someone else behind the kid as well, a maroon-haired swordsmith with the same earrings as Tanjiro.
Tokido is beating up the kid swordsmith, asking to give the key to the doll. Ataru hides nearby and hears Tanjiro standing up for swordsmiths as he says that without them demon slayers wouldn't have the swords needed to kill demons and that they in fact need each other. Tokido says he is bored of the conversation, knocks him out and leaves. After he wakes up, the kid thanks Tanjiro for helping him but says he ended up giving the key so Tokido could leave. They talk about Yurichi Type 0, the prototype of an actual demon slayer that needs a key to operate. They hear fighting and run to find Tokido training with Yurichi, who has 6 hands. Tanjiro finds the doll familiar but can't remember why. The kid says the doll is from the Sengoku period, which is 3 centuries ago, and they still cannot replicate it. He didn't want to give the key because if the doll breaks he cannot repair it. They watch Tokido in awe as he fights with the doll. Mitsuri's crow suddenly shows up and says that Tokido is a descendant of the sun-breathing user. Tanjiro suddenly remembers the demon slayer from his dream and the kid says it can be an inherited memory. He says the dream must be of Tanjiro's ancestors. Tanjiro thanks the kid for the information who introduces himself as Kotetsu. At that moment, they see Tokido break the armor of the doll when the kid cries, but Tanjiro encourages him to work hard and become a good swordsmith to continue his family's legacy just like he is doing his best to take down Muzan. As Kotetsu cheers up, Tokido walks by them and they are surprised at his nonchalant behavior. He says his sword broke, so he took the doll's sword. Tanjiro notices there is no malice and he is just apathetic. Kotetsu and Tanjiro find the doll broken on the ground. They turn the key and the doll still moves, even though it has only 5 hands. Angry, Kotetsu says he will work hard and help Tanjiro become strong and beat the Mist Hashira. The kid launches the doll at him to immediately start his training. Over the next few days, the doll keeps beating him up and Kotetsu either curses the doll or Tanjiro to fight better. He berates Tanjiro every day and doesn't give him any food or water but helps him a lot to improve his fighting skills. One day, he blacks out. His defense is weak, but he still gets a hit in and Kotetsu gives him food. Tanjiro can finally smell which way the doll is going to attack. He leaps and is about to cut its head but stops as he doesn't want to break the doll. Kotetsu cheers him and says he will work hard to fix the doll and that Tanjiro should just complete his training and finish the strike. Tanjiro slices off the doll's head and his sword is revealed to be hidden in its body. Kotetsu and Tanjiro are surprised by the sword hidden in Yurichi Type 0. Kotetsu is excited for Tanjiro to use the sword, but he is scared and they try to convince each other of their ideas. They however decide to take the sword out only to see that it is rusty and they are left disappointed. Ataru shows up and tries to take the sword and the two try to stop him as they wonder about his intentions. Kanamori comes and tickles Ataru until he blacks out. He defends Ataru, telling them that he was training to make a stronger sword for Tanjiro, who is touched to hear this. He gives Tanjiro a temporary sword and promises to return in 3 days with the newly polished 300-year-old sword. At dinner time, Tanjiro is worried for Hataru and voices his concerns to Genya, who is not interested in befriending him as he broke his arm during their final selection. Tanjiro notices that Genya had broken his tooth at the hot spring and says he has it and wants to return it. Genya is weirded out and kicks Tanjiro out of the room. But he is not bothered by this, and as he braids Nezuko's hair he comes up with a plan to befriend Genya by sharing a meal with him the next morning. As Genya goes to a swordsmith's hut to check on his sword and sees it empty, he is reminded of his brother, Sanemi. Meanwhile, Tokido wakes Tanjiro and wants to know about Kanamori. He says he is his new swordsmith and Tanjiro offers to help him look. Saying kindness returns kindness. Tokido is shocked by this and asks him to repeat his words. They suddenly hear something and see Hantango crying as he slowly enters. Tokido attacks, but the demon is quick and dodges it. Nezuko tries to help, but Tanjiro tells her not to use her demon form as it could worsen her condition. With one move, Tokido is blown away while the other demon attacks Tanjiro. Genya shows up and shoots the demons. He then cuts off one of their heads and that demon splits into 2 more demons. A winged clone flies away with Tanjiro while another clone stabs Genya. Nezuko is left behind, trying to save him. Meanwhile, Tokido is running back to the scene when he sees Kotetsu trying to fend off a demon. He claims that a child has the least skills and will be the least useful to him, so he should help those who have the most skills, like the chief swordsmith. But he remembers Tanjiro's words about kindness, and just as the demon is about to beat Kotetsu, Tokido rescues him.
Kotetsu is being attacked by the fish minion and Tokido saves him by slashing the fish. Kotetsu is grateful and thanks him for saving his life. Tokido tries to leave but Kotetsu tells him that Kanamori is also being attacked and begs him for help. Tokido suddenly hears Yubayashiki in his head telling him that he will soon find himself again. In a flashback, Tokido is gravely injured and has lost all of his memories. As a temporary solution, Yubayashiki tells him that even though he is confused to just continue living and in time things will work out. Tokido takes Kotetsu and starts running towards Kanamori but he is unsure if he is doing the right thing by leaving the village undefended. Tanjiro accidentally cuts the clone of Yorogi, the winged demon, and regrets it because now the demon splits into 2 more clones. But he realizes his attack is weaker when the clones are split many times, their power dwindles. As Yorogi attacks, his clones disappear and Tanjiro realizes he cannot turn into infinite clones and there's a limit. Even so, Tanjiro cannot defeat him. Meanwhile, Nezuko is trying to stop Karaku, the pleasure clone with the maple leaf fan, while Genya is bleeding from being stabbed by Izetsu with a spear. Sakido, the anger clone, is irritated with Karaku and wants him to finish Nezuko off. When Izetsu tries to remove his spear, he is shot in the head by Genya, but he just regenerates. As he finally pulls out his spear, Genya chants the Amida Sutra and jumps up as he tries to kill Izetsu. But his sneak attack does not work, being struck by lightning. Karaku is excited to join the fight and just kicks Nezuko in hopes of killing her. But she kicks him back and using her demon blood art, she uses his own fan to blow him away. Shocked, Sakido stabs her in the neck with his staff and attacks her with lightning. Meanwhile, Tanjiro is still trying to defeat Yorogi. As he pretends to run away and Yorogi attacks, Tanjiro stabs him in the mouth. He then cleverly uses the clone's body as support to fly back to the house where Sakido tries to attack Tanjiro with lightning but the Slayer stops it with Yorogi's leg. Tanjiro then slices Sakido's tongue as he figures out that the clones regenerate more slowly when their tongues are damaged. But just as he takes out the staff holding Nezuko down, Sakido heals quickly and attacks him. Nezuko blocks him, trying to fight back, but just then Karaku appears. Tajniro and Nezuko fall through the floor and black out as Karaku laughs that he can finally kill them for good. Meanwhile, the rest of the villagers sound the alarm to alert everyone of the attack. They try to fight the fish minions but seem to be losing. At that moment, Mitsuri, who had been assigned to a nearby district, runs to their aid.
Tokido saves Kanamori from one of the fish monsters and asks him for a new sword. Kanamori says that Tanjiro already asked him to be understanding towards Tokido, and he is moved by the care shown to him. On their way to get the sword, they are blocked by the monster named Gyako. Meanwhile in the village, the swordsmiths cannot defend against the fish monsters. But Mitsuri appears and saves them all. She quickly runs towards the chief swordsmith's home, because he is also in grave danger. The demon slayers stationed at the house were all killed by the monster, but luckily Mitsuri arrives and defeats the huge demon fish and the chief is saved. Although gravely injured, he still cracks jokes and flirts with her. Tanjiro and Nezuko are still on the run from Karaku and Sakido, and they are seriously hurt from their attack. Nezuko grabs Tanjiro's sword and starts pulling it towards her chest. Back to Tokido, the Gyako monster shows him his latest creation, a gruesome stack of swordsmith bodies. Kotetsu cries as he recognizes his family and friends among the fallen. Gyako keeps taunting him and reveals they are still alive and in excruciating pain, as poor Kotetsu keeps screaming at the sight of this. Tokido attacks the demon but Gyako escapes by teleporting from one base to another. Tokido takes notice and attacks again, but the demon is much faster and gets away once more. Gyako spawns some smaller fish that attack Kotetsu and Kanamori with poison needles, and the two are defenseless at this point. Tokido protects them with his body, in a really selfless move, coming a long way from berating the kid and seeing him as useless. He has a flashback of someone telling him he is worthless, but since he cannot remember who was it, he gets back to fighting Gyako, who traps him in a suffocating pot. Back to Tanjiro, Nezuko was actually setting his sword ablaze with the power of her demon blood, thus creating an exploding blood sword. He suddenly has an inherited memory of a samurai that looks like the Yorichi doll and finds out that a samurai's sword turns red in battle, just like his did with Nezuko's help. One of the demons remembers that Muzan was defeated by a samurai that he sees in Tanjiro. With a powerful and swift attack, he finally kills all 3 demons. His joy of seeing Genya defeating the 4th one is short-lived when he sees he is now a demon too.
Episode 6. Shocked by Genya's demonic appearance, Tanjiro hesitates to approach him. Tanjiro frees Nezuko and they embrace in relief. Tanjiro discovers the 5th stand among the demons and vows to find it. Gene, filled with determination, declares that he will become a Hashira and seeks Tanjiro's support. As they prepare for battle, the other demons fully regenerate, and Tanjiro urges Gene and Nezuko to engage while he searches for the fifth demon. He triangulates the location of the fifth demon, Hantengu, hiding in the nearby bushes. Tanjiro directs Gene to head northeast while he confronts the demon of joy. Tanjiro guides Gene to the forest while dealing with the demons himself. Gene searches for the hidden demon but struggles to locate it. Tanjiro directs him to the right, where he finds Hantengu, who has shrunken in size. Gene attacks the demon, but his blade breaks, and even his shotgun pellets have no effect. Sekido appears and prepares to strike Gene with his Kakara. Gene realizes he cannot dodge the attack and reflects on his past, recalling his abusive father and protective mother. As Sanemi goes to look for their mother, Gene stays behind to watch their younger siblings. Gene recalls the tragic event where their mother, transformed into a demon, attacked their home, ending their siblings. Sanemi protected Gene and fought their mother, resulting in her disintegration. Gene apologizes for accusing Sanemi of ending their mother and acknowledges the pain his brother endured. They made a promise to protect their family after their father's death. Gene realizes he is about to die and reflects on his lack of talent and inability to use breathing techniques, which prevented him from becoming a Hashira. He questions why Sanemi's smiling face is the last thing he sees and wonders why his brother pushed him aside. Tanjiro intervenes to save Gene from Sekida's attack and encourages him not to give up, reminding him of his aspiration to become a Hashira. However, Aizetsu appears and launches an attack with whipping spears. Gene shoots Tanjiro and sustains multiple wounds, requesting Tanjiro to behead the demon in his place. Aizetsu lunges at Genya and Tanjiro chases after the fleeing Hantengu, eventually reaching a clearing where he confronts the upper-ranked demon with his red blade.
Hantengu, the tiny demon, runs away from Tanjiro, the brave demon slayer. They chase each other to a clearing where Tanjiro attacks Hantengu with his special burning sword. But just as he's about to defeat the demon, something surprises Tanjiro from behind. It's a new smell, different from the other demons he has encountered before. Tanjiro tries to keep his ground, but can't hurt Hantengu anymore because his sister Nezuko's power has worn off. Suddenly, Hantengu uses his own flesh to create a double-bladed dagger and summons a powerful shockwave by beating a drum. The shockwave sends Tanjiro flying backward. In the center of the chaos, 5 huge wooden dragons appear and carry Tanjiro high up into the sky. Just as he's about to fall into the dragon's mouth, Nezuko saves him in the nick of time. She sacrifices her arm and leg to protect him, but quickly heals herself. Finally, they land on the ground and face a new demon. The demon accuses them of being cruel to the weak and calls them terrible villains. Tanjiro is surprised to see a 6th demon, but realizes that he can't sense or see the other 4 demons anymore. Genya was totally confused. He couldn't believe his eyes. The demon in front of him used to be Sekido, but now it had transformed into something else. But then, something strange happened. Genya saw Sekido absorb 2 other demons, Karaku and Yurogi, into himself. And now, he was trying to take in Aizetsu as well. A new form emerged, fueled by Hantengu's intense hatred. This demon tapped a drum and trapped the tiny Hantengu in a wooden burrow, keeping it safe. Tanjiro couldn't stay quiet and shouted in protest. But the demon stared back at him fiercely, emitting an overpowering aura that left Tanjiro breathless and speechless. With determination in his eyes, Tanjiro raised his sword, condemning the demon's twisted and unforgivable actions, and vowed to cut off the demon's head, once and for all. This terrifying new demon got all confused when Tanjiro finished talking. It wondered if the people Tanjiro was concerned about were his own family and why it made him so mad. But when Tanjiro disagreed, the demon thought his anger was justified and didn't care about the demon slayer. Tanjiro fired back, saying that helping people doesn't need a reason and that the demon could never understand. The insult really hit the demon's nerves, so he played his drum and sent dragons after Tanjiro. Meanwhile, Muchiro was still stuck in a water pot, watching Gyako focus on something inside a work shed. Meanwhile, at a shed, Kozo stood in front of a weirdo demon, Gyako, trying to stop him from going inside. But Gyako just laughed and teased him, asking if he really thought he could fight. Then Gyako used his water powers to attack Kozo, breaking his knife and hurting him. Gyako wondered why Kozo was protecting the shed when the village chief wasn't even there. But when Gyako looked behind Kozo, he saw Hataru polishing Tanjiro's sword. Gyako realized Hataru wasn't the chief because he was too young, so he tried to get Hataru's attention, but Hataru was so focused on his work that he didn't notice Gyako's attacks. Even though Gyako slashed him and broke his mask, Hataru kept polishing the blade without getting bothered. Gyako was both super surprised and frustrated by Hataru's determination. Meanwhile, Hataru noticed something amazing about the extraordinary sword. It had only one letter engraved on it because it had only one purpose. Just as Kozo called out to Hataru, Gyako got really mad at Hataru for not paying attention to him. So he thought killing the swordsmith would be too easy, so he decided to make him let go of the sword instead. Meanwhile, Muchiro's vision was getting blurry, and he realized he might die soon. But the dreamy Tanjiro told him that he doesn't get to decide when his life ends. Dreamy Tanjiro encouraged him to never give up and promised that help would come. As Muchiro closed his eyes and started losing breath, he suddenly heard something hitting a water pot, and it was Kotetsu desperately trying to stab the pot with a knife to save him. But even Kotetsu couldn't cut through it. Then, Muchiro noticed a fish demon with blades sneaking up behind Kotetsu. He tried to get Kotetsu's attention but failed, and the demon attacked, injuring Kotetsu. Muchiro got really scared and told Kotetsu to run away, but the demon stabbed Kotetsu in the stomach. Thinking he was done for, Kotetsu surprisingly walked toward the suspended Muchiro, holding his wound. He touched the water pot and blew bubbles into it, which helped Muchiro breathe. Just then, Tanjiro reappeared out of nowhere, reminding Muchiro that helping others would eventually help himself. As he vanished in the mist, Muchiro saw another strange man with the same red eyes, saying that humans are capable of incredible strength when they help each other. As he breathed the air from the bubbles, he found new strength to unleash one more attack. The Hashira uses mist breathing, second form, 8-layered mist, and successfully cuts through Gyako's blood demon art. Free at last, Muchiro understood why he was fascinated with Tanjiro. He possesses the same red eyes as his father. Muchiro, after his powerful attack, fell out of Gyako's water pot and tried to remove the needles sticking out of his body, but the poison made him feel really numb. As he struggled, he noticed his friend Kotetsu was unconscious and a scary fish demon was about to attack. More demons joined the fight, and poor Muchiro had no strength to stand. He thought he was done for when suddenly, his life flashed before his eyes. In his flashback, he remembered when he was a young kid and how he loved helping his woodcutter dad work. But on one stormy night, his mom got sicker, and he tried to comfort her as his dad had gone to get medicine. Meanwhile, outside in the storm, his dad reached a cliff and found the medicinal herbs he needed. He desperately tried to grab the herbs for his wife, but things took a tragic turn as he fell from a broken rock and died, still holding onto the herbs. Things get worse as Muchiro's mother passed away that very night. And then, he was all alone at the age of 10, but he suddenly remembered that he was not really alone because he actually had a twin brother named Yuichiro. As they walked home, Yuichiro started talking about how compassion was useless because it led to the death of their parents, who were too compassionate and couldn't help themselves. Muchiro was shocked by his twin's harsh words, but Yuichiro insisted that their conversation was pointless because they couldn't change the past. One hot summer night, both brothers couldn't sleep because of the heat. Suddenly, a scary demon showed up in their house, and it was surprised to see only kids at home and then attacked Muchiro. Yuichiro bravely tried to protect his brother, but the demon cut off his arm and blood went everywhere. And oh boy, did this make Muchiro so mad he saw a flash of red, unconsciously attacked the demon, and subdued it with gardening tools and wooden stakes, making the demon suffer because it couldn't die. Finally, the sunlight came and made the demon turn into ash. He wanted to see Yuichiro desperately, so he crawled to reach him, but Yuichiro was barely alive. He heard Yuichiro praying to the gods, blaming himself for getting in Muchiro's way. He thought his brother was a kind-hearted kid who wanted to help others, but now he was hurt because of him. Yuichiro felt guilty and prayed to be punished instead of his twin. He finally remembered why his name had Mu in it, as his twin cried and held his bloody hand. With his memory returning, a red cloud mark appeared on Muchiro's face. Then, he grabbed his sword like a boss and used a mist-breathing technique, and boom. He defeats the fish demons really fast, saving Kotetsu while at it. The Mist Hashira attacked Gyako with his sword. The weird-looking demon was shocked that Muchiro was able to escape his water prison. He noticed the marks on Muchiro's face and realized they were the same as some kid with earrings Mozen told him about. Armed with his new sword by Kanamori, the young Hashira shows his gratitude. He faces Gyako and his dangerous octopus vase hell, using a technique, mist-breathing fifth form, sea of clouds and haze, to swiftly slice through the tentacles and slashes at Gyako's neck. But the sneaky demon dodged. The ugly demon got butthurt and flares up, attacking with his swarm of flesh-eating fish blood art, but Muchiro smoothly evades and then butchers them using his own breathing techniques. He launches forward to behead Gyako, but the scared demon sheds his skin and disappears to reappear on a tree. Gyako decides to reveal his true form, which is just growing out full arms. He taunts Muchiro and promises that no one can survive him when he's serious. Muchiro flashes back to that horrific moment when he held his dead brother's hand while maggots infested his body. As he's about to fade off, Amane Obuyashiki came to his rescue with her daughters, tending to his wounds while he refused to let go of Yuichiro's hand, knowing he would have died otherwise. Fueled by a simmering rage that persists within him since that fateful day, he trained relentlessly so he can unleash his fury to annihilate all demons. Gyako, using his new body, attacks Muchiro with incredible speed and his fancy moves, making it impossible for the Hashira to land a hit. Then out of nowhere, Muchiro slowly moves within the mist, and with one smooth swing, he finally beheads Gyako, ending the battle. He tries to regrow his body while insulting Mochiro, but the Hashira silences him with a death by 1,000-cut strike, sending him to hell. Hotaru approaches the missed Hashira, grateful for saving their lives. But he notices that Mochiro is turning pale, and while the boy insists he's fine, he suddenly starts trembling and struggling to breathe. He collapses, frothing at the mouth. Horrified, Hotaru calls for assistance, but Haganazuka just kept on working the blade, ignoring him. Tanjiro faces off against the wood-style dragon heads. The dragons attack him with the same powers the emotion demons had, while Nezuko and Jinya also find themselves in peril as they confront the demons' dragons. Tanjiro tried to dodge their attacks, but got his left foot crushed by powerful winds, and then he got struck by lightning. He's desperate, he can't use his breathing technique to heal himself, so he runs a distance thinking he's out of danger, but the demon just extends its reach by causing the wood dragon to emerge with smaller necks that grab Tanjiro and swallow him whole, leaving Nezuko and Jinya shocked. Suddenly, our lovely Mitsuri springs into action, and that sight was glorious. She leaps onto the dragon's neck, slicing it apart and freeing Tanjiro. As the dragon disintegrates, Mitsuri carries the injured demon slayer and lands safely. The love Hashira stands up, with resolve in her eyes, determined to rescue Nezuko and Jinya. She launches forward to confront the upper-rank demon, whipping her special blade. Mitsuri remains determined to face the embodiment of hatred, moving and flowing like the winds with insane acrobatic moves, using her blade to subdue the attacking dragons, causing them to collide with each other. Zohakuin ain't wasting any time and starts launching his attack, going all out with the crazed cry of thunder death to mess her up. But guess what? Mitsuri ain't taking it lying down. She defends herself like a boss using cat love shower to nullify his attack. Zohakuin's totally shocked that she can handle his move and can't believe his eyes. The demon realizes she's keeping up with his speed and decides it's time to finish her off. He unleashes his countless striking trios, but Mitsuri ain't backing down as she cuts right through that attack with her swaying love, Wild Claw, and gets right to Zohakuin's body. So things just got intense. But Tanjiro hollers at the love Hashira, letting her know that Zohakuin ain't the real demon's body. It was too late though, as the hate demon busts out his blood demon art, blasting compressed sound waves. Mitsuri's gotta face it head on, no other choice. She gets straight up paralyzed and passes out, but somehow manages to survive the blast. Mitsuri's life starts flashing before her eyes and takes us back to her first fiancé. He goes off on her hair color, saying it gives him the creeps even thinking about passing it on to their kids, and tells her to forget about him and that whole marriage mess. But here's the kicker, Mitsuri ain't no ordinary. This little girl was a total powerhouse since she was barely a year old. She could lift a massive 33-pound stone like it was no big deal. She had the appetite of a whole crew of sumo wrestlers. But things took a turn when her wedding plans went down the drain, so she decided to hide all her quirky abilities, thinking they were too much for anyone to handle. These three heroes, Tanjiro, Nezuko, and Ginya, swoop in and save her from getting decked by Zohakuin's fist. They look her dead in the eye and tell her she's their last shot at victory, and they get all emotional, telling her to get up and kick some serious butt. Hantengu releases another attack, however, the Hashira cuts through his attack, protecting the four of them. She screams at Hantengu that she won't lose to evil people and it's time to get more serious. Again, she takes us back in time, and there's Kagaya Obuyashiki talking to her. He's telling her to be proud of her strength and not give a damn about anyone who hates on it. When Hantengu tries to throw some attacks her way, she straight up slices through them like a boss and tells herself she's gotta level up her game. She's got a plan, and she's telling Tanjiro, Ginya, and Nezuko to split up and find the main body. Meanwhile, she's handling the other dude herself. Hantengu peeps the trio searching and tries to launch an attack their way, but Mitsuri shuts it down like a boss before it reaches them. Ginya, Tanjiro, and Nezuko are caught up in a fight with a possessed tree, with his real body hidden inside. They're struggling to cut the tree because their hands are too busy holding on for dear life. Ginya's left with no choice but to chow down on the tree itself, and guess what? Turns out Ginya's got a special power where he can get the demon's traits if he eats its flesh for a short time. So, the top part of the tree falls down after Ginya takes a bite, and Tanjiro goes in for the slicing action. That's when Nezuko steps in, unleashing her blood demon art and setting the tree and Tanjiro's sword on fire. He performs the flame dance to cut that tree in half and reach the hollow inside where Hantengu's real body is supposed to be, but the sneaky demon has already made a run for it, shrinking down to a tiny size and scurrying away on the forest floor. Tanjiro ain't having none of it, and he screams at Hantengu, promising to make him pay for every damn sin he's committed. The Demon Slayer realizes that his group is getting tired and at their limit, while this demon still has some strength left to run so far. And look, the sun is coming up. This demon would definitely try to get away. He thinks of Mitsuri, who is fighting Hantengu's powerful clone, and he knows that the Hashira is also at her limit too. Now, Tanjiro is even more determined to catch Hantengu quickly, but suddenly the pain of his broken left leg hits him hard, and he can't run as fast. Suddenly, he remembers what his friend, Zenitsu, taught him about using his leg muscles using total concentration techniques. So Tanjiro comes up with a bold plan. He fills his muscles and blood with oxygen and stomps his right leg, takes a deep breath, and focuses his strength on his leg. This boosts him right past Ginya and Nezuko, catching up to Hantengu. Tanjiro uses his special Inakami Kagura move to slice into Hantengu's neck. Sensing defeat, the demon suddenly grows in size and grabs Tanjiro's head and tries to crush him. Tanjiro almost loses consciousness, but Genya rolls up and helps him by pulling the demon's hands away. The monster tries to scare them away with his shockwave blast, but Nezuko jumps in and splashes the feared demon with her blood, setting him on fire, which allows Genya breaks off the demon's arms to free Tanjiro, but Nezuko's flames also hurt Genya too. Tanjiro, still holding his sword, cuts deeper into the giant clone's neck while fall off a cliff and crash down. Nezuko tries to reach them but falls too. Hantengu gets up realizing he can't heal quickly because Zohakuten, the hatred clone, is using too much power, so he needs to feed to regain his power. But Tanjiro shouts that he won't let the demon escape and promises to cut off his head even if he escapes to the depth of hell. Luckily for the demon, he sees 3 swordsmiths in the distance. Unlucky for them, as they try to run away, and the demon chases after them. On the cliff tops, something catches his eye. It's a flying sword that lands in front of him, thrown by Muchiro. Haganazuka is angrily choking him because the sword is unfinished, but Muchiro, with his last bit of strength, tells him that the sun will rise soon, and the demon will run away. This gives Tanjiro determination to fight. With the demon in his sights, Tanjiro uses his special breathing technique and combines it with his thunder breathing knowledge, and he moves so fast that he catches up to the demon in an instant. He slashes the demon's neck and beheads it. The ground lights up, and Tanjiro realizes that the sun is about to rise. He hurries back to Nezuko to warn her, but he can't speak properly. To his surprise, Nezuko, looking horrified, runs towards him, despite the danger, trying to make him look behind. Finally, he sees what she's worried about. The headless giant clone is still chasing the swordsmiths, even without a head. To his shock, Tanjiro notices that the severed head has the word resentment on its tongue, while the main body had the word fear. That is still not the real body? So he races to finish off the demon, and Nezuko joins him, and just as they are about to attack, the sun rises and burns his sister. She tries to shield herself, but the sunlight causes severe burns on her face and arms. Tanjiro abandons the demon and desperately tries to protect his sister from the sun's rays. He begs her to shrink herself to avoid the burning, but it doesn't work. Genya and Muchiro are unable to help because they are too injured, and Tanjiro knows that if he lets the demon burn, it will be too late and the swordsmiths will die. He is stuck, unable to choose between fighting the demon or saving his burning sister. He freezes, feeling frustrated and angry at the unfairness of the situation. Suddenly, Nezuko kicks him in the air, leaving herself exposed to the sun. He is shocked, but sees his sister signal him to kill the demon. The main body is inside a giant headless clone and uses his sense of smell to locate Hantengu in its heart. The demon has captured the swordsmiths, so Tanjiro jumps up and cuts off both of its arms, demanding the demon pay for its sins as he slices the giant's body in half, exposing Hantengu to the sunlight. Finally, he strikes the demon's neck with his sword. Finally, under the sunlight, the demon is defeated for good. He thinks that his victory came at a terrible cost, his dear sister Nezuko's life. Tanjiro turns his head and he can't believe his own eyes. Nezuko, no longer burning in the sunlight, approaches him. Tanjiro is speechless, his jaw dropping in silence. Supported by the swordsmiths, Tanjiro slowly approaches her, cautiously asking if she's okay. Realizing that his sister is alive and kicking, Tanjiro can't contain his emotions. Back in the forest, Mitsuri is being relentlessly attacked by wooden dragons controlled by Zohakuten. Just when it seems like one of the dragons is about to crush her in its jaws, something incredible happens. Zohakuten suddenly bursts into flames, and the dragons start disappearing into thin air. Mitsuri is saved, and she watches in awe as her enemy crumbles away, realizing that Tanjiro and the others must have defeated Hantengu. Finally, a demon has found a way to overcome the sunlight. Muzan, filled with joy, reveals that he doesn't need to search for the blue spider lily anymore, and his new goal is to absorb the chosen demon and conquer the sun for himself. The lady and servant were interrupting his joy, so he got their heads suddenly chopped off before leaving the room. We go back to how this all started when he was so weak that he was supposed to die before he turned 20. But there was this doctor who tried to help him, even though Muzan didn't like him and thought him incompetent. So, one day, Muzan, after taking a special medicine and feeling so angry at his helplessness, killed this seemingly incompetent doctor. But guess what? After he killed the doctor, Muzan realized that the medicine had actually cured him. His weak body became super strong. But there was a catch. He couldn't go out in the sunlight anymore because it would kill him. Plus, he started craving human flesh, so he started eating people, but he didn't mind it at all, actually. He felt satisfied. Now Muzan had a new plan. He didn't need to make more demons anymore. Instead, he wanted to absorb Nezuko and take her power for himself. If he could do that, he would become immortal and never be hurt by sunlight again. In the present, Muchiro and Kotetsu climbed down a tall cliff to join the exhausted Tanjiro and his sister. Also, to everyone's relief, Mitsuri was approaching them and she hugged everyone tightly, shedding tears of joy because they had survived the battle. Nezuko repeated Mitsuri's words, which surprised her momentarily. Then she hugged Nezuko as well and cried tears of gratitude for her survival. A female Kikuchi who brought Tanjiro to the village appears and gives him a blindfold and nose plugs. She tells him to wear them as they say their goodbyes. Suddenly, they stop and the Kikuchi tells him to take off the blindfold. The villagers surprise him by throwing confetti and thanking him for saving them while Tanjiro is overwhelmed by their gratitude. And this season of Demon Slayer ends here.
How was the video? We hope it was good. If so, please check these videos. Also, please comment down your thoughts and your suggestions for future videos. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing now to show the support to our channel. We hope to see you soon with another video right in this channel. Have a nice day.